You check your bank account for the fourth time today. Nothing has changed since this morning. The number is exactly what it was, exactly what it should be, and still your stomach tightens the way it does before bad news. There's more in there than you've ever had, and you feel like it could all disappear by Friday. Nobody would look at you and think you were struggling. Your rent is paid, your card works. You have a small buffer sitting in a savings account you're too anxious to touch. On paper, you are fine, better than fine. And yet you move through your days carrying a low, constant hum of dread, a sense that ruin is always one unexpected expense away. You are not broke, your brain just thinks you are, and once you understand why, you can't unsee it. It usually starts with a moment you'd never connect to money. You're standing in a grocery store, holding two things. One costs $1 more than the other. And you stand there longer than any adult should stand, deciding between two nearly identical items, feeling a pressure in your chest that has nothing to do with $1. You buy the cheaper one. You feel a small, strange relief. Then, in the parking lot, a quieter thought arrives. You have $400 in checking. You just agonized over $1. And something about that math doesn't add up. This is the thing nobody warns you about. That the fear of not having money can survive long after the lack of money is gone. That you can climb out of the hole and keep flinching like you're still in it. The body remembers scarcity longer than the bank account does, and so you end up living a life that feels poor, while the numbers quietly insist you're not. You start to notice it in small places, the way you feel a flash of panic when a subscription renews, even one you use every day. The way you calculate the cost of a coffee against some invisible budget you never actually wrote down. The way you say you can't afford things you can in fact afford. Because the word afford stopped meaning do I have the money, and started meaning will spending this make the fear come back. And it always makes the fear come back. There's a name for this now. People call it money dysmorphia. The gap between your actual financial reality and the one your mind insists on. Like standing in front of a mirror that shows you a version of yourself that isn't there. You look at your accounts and you don't see the number. You see a threat. You see how quickly it could vanish. You see every version of the future where it isn't enough. And no balance, no raise, no cushion has ever once made that mirror show you the truth. The cruelest part is that it doesn't fix itself with more money. You'd think it would. You told yourself, years ago, that once you had a little saved, you'd finally relax. Then you had it, and the number that was supposed to bring peace just became the new floor you were terrified of falling below. The goalposts moved the instant you reached them. They always do, because the problem was never the number. The problem is the part of you that's convinced the number is a lie. To understand where it comes from, you have to go back. Not to your bank statements, to something older. Maybe you grew up in a house where money was a held breath, where you learnt to read your parents' faces at the kitchen table and know, without a word, whether it was a good month or a bad one. Maybe you watched an envelope of cash get counted twice. Maybe you heard the specific silence that falls over a home when a bill arrives and nobody says anything. You were a child. You didn't understand the details, but you understood the feeling, and the feeling installed itself somewhere deep, below language, in the place that runs you when you're not paying attention. Children are extraordinary at absorbing fear they can't name. You didn't learn a budget, you learnt a nervous system. You learnt that money is dangerous, that it disappears, that wanting it is risky, and having it is temporary. And decades later, standing in a grocery store with $400 in the bank, that child is still the one holding the two cans, still deciding, still afraid, so the fear follows you into a life that no longer matches it. You get the job, you get the paycheck, you build the buffer you swore would save you, and the buffer just sits there, doing its job perfectly, while you refuse to believe it exists. You have 3 months of expenses saved, you still check your balance like it might have vanished overnight, you still feel the floor is made of paper. The evidence is right in front of you, and your body won't accept the evidence. And here's where it turns from a private ache into something that actually costs you. Because money dysmorphia doesn't just make you anxious, it makes you hoard. It makes you afraid to invest, because investing means letting the money out of your sight, and out of your sight means gone. It makes you afraid to spend on the things that would genuinely improve your life, the trip, the class, the repair you keep delaying. It makes you say no to opportunities out of a fear that isn't real. The scarcity mindset that was supposed to protect you starts quietly shrinking your life. You end up guarding a fortune you won't use, standing watch over a vault you're too scared to open. You see it clearest in someone else. Maybe an older relative who has more than enough, and still reuses tea bags, still turns the heat down to a temperature that makes guests uncomfortable, still talks about money running out with $100,000 sitting in the bank. You used to find it baffling. Now you find it terrifying, because you can see the road that leads there. You can see yourself at 70, warm bank account, cold house, still afraid, still holding the 2 cans. But there's a moment, and it's small, where the mirror cracks, where you catch yourself in the middle of the fear, and, for the first time, you don't just feel it, you watch it. You're standing at the checkout, chest tight over a number that doesn't matter, and some quiet, newer part of you says, "Wait, this isn't about the money. Look at the account. The money is there. This feeling is not a fact." And in that half-second of distance, something shifts. Not a cure, a crack, a place where the light gets in, because the fear lied to you about one crucial thing. It told you it was keeping you safe. It told you that if you just stayed anxious enough, watched closely enough, restricted hard enough, you'd never fall. But the anxiety never made you a single dollar. The vigilance never protected anything. All it ever did was tax every good moment you were supposed to be having. It made you poor in the only place that poverty truly ruins you, in the quality of your own days. And once you see that, the work becomes different. It's not budgeting. You already know how to budget. It's teaching your nervous system a fact your bank account has been trying to tell it for years. You are not in danger. The month is not going to end in disaster. The floor is not made of paper. You do this slowly, in small acts of defiance against the fear. You spend, deliberately, on something that matters, and you sit in the discomfort until it passes, and you notice that nothing collapses. You let the money leave and you watch it come back. You prove to the frightened child, one small transaction at a time, that the world is not the kitchen table anymore. This is what almost no one tells you about becoming okay with money. That the last, hardest step has nothing to do with earning and everything to do with believing. That you can spend years chasing a number, hit it, exceed it, and still not feel it, because feeling it was never a math problem. It was a trust problem. A quiet argument between the person you are now and the child who learned too early that safety was something you could lose in a single bad month. So the next time you check your account and feel that familiar tightening, that certainty that it's all about to slip away, stop. Look at the actual number, not the threat, the number. And ask yourself the only question that matters here. Is this feeling telling me the truth? Or is it just the oldest voice in the house, still counting an envelope that emptied a long, long time ago? You are not broke. You never were. Not really. The scarcity was real once. It isn't anymore. And the day you finally believe that, the day the mirror shows you what's actually there, you'll realize the wealth you were chasing wasn't in the account at all. It was in the ability to look at it, breathe, and feel, for the first time in your life, like it's enough. The question isn't whether you have enough. You've had enough for a while now. The question is, how long are you going to keep living like you don't?